everyone. Welcome back to Astrology Today with Jeff Harman. So great to see you. I'm Ella, Jeff's assistant. Hope you all are having a good week. It's Friday again. Jeff's got a lot to go into today. First of all, we've all heard that Tucker Carlson is no longer working at Fox. Jeff looked at Tucker's birth chart, and he's got a lot to disclose there. And also, he took a look at RFK's chart. A number of you have been asking about that. He cast an interrogation about RFK. And then we're going to take a look at the vision for America. So let's get started, Jeff.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, big news. And a lot of people have been asking me, emailing me, geez, what happened with Tucker Carlson? What do you think's happening? You think he's going to come back on? All this stuff. And I got to say, I don't think he's going back on Fox. And I took a good look at his astrology. And Tucker has a really powerful transformation that's going to be going on for him for a number of years here. And I've always been saying, whenever you tell the truth, check the brake lines on your car. And also listen real close that you don't hear tick, 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 tick when you get in the car. So the bottom line is, he was a naughty boy, because what he did was he exposed a lot of things that were very truthful. And the owners don't like that at all. And, what I would say is, you can tell by the backlash, and I've heard, different reports that it was Rupert Murdoch that fired him. What I hear is he was fired. And of course, they attributed to the Dominion lawsuit and the big settlement with Fox News and all that. But I think what really happened is he told the truth, and he was getting very cavalier with his news broadcasts. And I think, ever since I've been alive, I remember Walter Cronkite, with his sober visage and the black and white TV back in the 60s. And I can tell you, Tucker's probably the best truth bearer that I've seen in my lifetime in the past, 60 something years. So definitely that's what happened, in my opinion. And it fits his astrology. Why? Tucker has, in the next 2 years, he's got a very powerful set of aspects. He's got Uranus conjuncting the sun. Plain English, that's the escape from Alcatraz. Don't expect him to be gone. I think he's going to come back. What I don't like is he's also got some very dangerous aspects. He's got Pluto transiting his ascendant a number of times over the next few years. He's got a lot of powerful things, a new progress moon. Again, I really respect Tucker's ability to articulate facts in a very clear, concise, very direct way. And few people that I've seen on TV do that in that elegant of a way. And, he's really, look at the stock in Fox. It just dropped like a rock. I think they lost close to $1 billion in shareholdings when he walked away. And now they've got a void that I don't think they can fill, but it's the owners. They don't care at all. They just print more money. So, this is, again, goes full circle back to the world we're in right now. The entire world, including Europe. I was just on the phone with a law enforcement person in another country. I don't want to say where, but this is not just germane to the United States. We are seeing a dystopiocratic effort at globalism. And, these are things that we've been hearing, chirped by many different leaders, a new one world order. Remember George Bush Sr. And it's now coming to pass, and people, are saying we're in the Aquarian age. Well, I think we're in what I would call technocratic age. We are in an age when that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happened in 2020 on the winter solstice. We have now entered into an age of high-tech, you could say, expansion like we've never seen before. AI, new energies, all these things are coming in. And yes, it can also mean expanded consciousness, but it also allows the, you could say, communistic or, one world order to use that technology against humanity. Again, why the Constitution and this country is such a pillar to the rest of the world. And, I'm hearing a lot of interesting reports right now in a lot of places. I just watched the video where they're showing how the Chinese nationals, and many of these are young men of age for military service, are infiltrating through Panama and coming up through the borders. And it's literally being backed by the UN and part of the Biden administration. They're actually funding it. And I had a vision right when Biden got into the position he is, because I don't think he was elected in, but literally I had a vision that the Chinese were actually going to try and take over this country. And I think they're doing a pretty good job right now.
I remember when you had that vision. Yeah. And what's interesting about Tucker Carlson is he's been pushing the envelope for a long time. So the timing of this is what's so interesting.
Oh, you bet. And you're right, boy, that's a good expression, pushing the envelope, because he has been pushing the envelope. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it again as clearly, concisely, and directly with facts. And that's not allowed. The owners don't want that. He was a naughty, naughty boy. And that's why he got spanked, and he's out of there. They got the hook, and he's history. So I don't think Tucker's coming back. I've heard he's negotiating with CNN and all that, and that may be a possibility, but I don't think he's gone. From the looks at his chart, he's going to continue to be a torchbearer. Again, I hope they leave his family and he checks his brake lines, because
I can't imagine him at CNN.
Yeah, and I just heard that report too. I didn't look into that. Maybe we should down the line. Maybe I'll look at that and see, if that comes to fruition. I don't know, because I know there was non-compete clauses. From what I gather and looking at his birth chart, I think they're going to try and keep the lid on him for a while. I think he's going to surface in social media and have his own show or something like that as soon as he can extricate himself. I'm sure from the tentacles they've got him tied down with.
Yeah. Well, let's shift over to RFK, if you don't mind, for a minute. I know you looked at an interrogation.
Yeah, I did. We had a question. Is RFK... what's his chances? Is he going to become, a real contender with Biden here in the 2024 election? I looked at it and, even though I like the guy and I think, he certainly has a history with his father and his grandfather, but or his uncle, I should say, his uncle would have been JFK. And of course, his father was murdered in Los Angeles. And I remember both of those situations. Not too fun. But anyhow, the point is, looking at the chart, I'm not seeing he's going to get the war chest necessary to bring him across the finish line in the 224 election situation. It just doesn't look like it's there. Looks like he's really a good person from what I can see. And he's really, truly carrying a torch that would be not a bad idea to have him in there. But I would also say that doesn't look like he's going to get the guns. So that's my answer on that one. And I can only tell you what the chart says. It's not my opinion. I try and keep my opinions out of these things and just read what the interrogation astrology says. So that's kind of where that one goes.
Yeah. Well, share with everyone, Jeff, our little trip to the PRS, the Philosophical Research Society, and how that connects to the vision for America as you want to express.
Yeah, that's right. We went up to the Philosophical Research Society, which is founded by Manly P. Hall. If anybody's not familiar with Manly P. Hall, he, I think in the 30s, created PRS. He was giving
1934.
Lectures.
Yep.
It was 1934. That's right. Thank you. He was giving lectures at a church in downtown Los Angeles. I think that began somewhere around 1919. And he gave a series of lectures on occult matters and spirituality and religions, which was very fascinating. And somebody had heard him in the audience and approached him. And I believe it was the Rosicrucian Society, which, many people may have heard of them with Max Heindel. And of course, that goes all the way back to the Middle Ages with Christian Rosenkreuz. And there was also some other secret societies that I believe had bequeathed information to him. And it was a very interesting time, early last century. That's when Blavatsky and Ledbetter and all these spiritualists had come out of the 1800s. They all went over to India and then came back with all this knowledge, right? And interesting stuff. So Manly P. Hall, I actually got to meet him in the early 80s, and I think it was somewhere around 1983, 1984, if my memory serves me correct. And that was several years before he died. And interesting guy, big guy too, tall guy. Anyways, long story short, he had collected a series of works from the Freemasons, and many people might know that our history of our founding fathers is clearly steeped in Freemasonry. And, I know the Catholics and many people hate the Freemasons. They all think they're devil worshipers. The only thing I would say is pick up a copy of your Constitution sometime and the Bill of Rights and read it over a little carefully. You'll find that whoever those Masons were, at least, were pretty good people. They really crafted, I think, ingeniously the Constitution as well as the Bill of Rights that was pro-humanity, and it was, against tyranny, and it was for freedom for all of humanity. So really an amazing document. So long story short, what I want to get to here is there's a book that Manly P. Hall assembled. It's called, again, The Secret History of America. And you can see Manly wrote this. Well, in the back of the book, if anybody wants to pick it up, I'm not promoting the book, but it's a good book. It's a series of collections talking about America's secret esoteric background. And clearly the Masons were involved. If you look at Washington, D.C., which was originally the District of Columbia, it's just been renamed to the District of Criminals, but I'm sorry, I renamed that, but it was originally the District of Columbia.
Come on, we don't want to get our show canceled.
Yeah, but it's humor, right? So hopefully it's humor, but it's actually not. But anyways, the bottom line is there was a man, and I'm trying to find his name here. Yeah, here it is. It was Anthony Sherman, who was believed to have been with George Washington in 1777 in Valley Forge. And apparently they retreated to Valley Forge because they'd had a series of defeats. And of course, as we know, if anyone, looks into history, we really shouldn't have won that war against the well-equipped, well-funded, extremely well-trained British Army. You got a bunch of ragtag soldiers in the Revolutionary Army. And the only one really who had a lot of military experience was a few of the officers. George Washington was one of them because he had actually fought with the British during the French-Indian War just a short few years earlier. And then, of course, when the Declaration of Independence was declared, the Revolutionary Army was created, and Washington, of course, was the driving force. He was the leading commander. Well, apparently this man, Anthony Sherman, who was at this time about 91 years old, a number of years later, I guess this was 1859 when he actually communicated the story. But he tells the story of George Washington was very much into prayer and meditation. And Washington would go off and pray by himself. And he would tell his, other officers, I need time to be alone here. So the story begins with George Washington having an angel appear to him. And the angel said to Washington, "You of the Republic, look, watch, and learn." And apparently the angel made a vision manifest of the oceans and the continents, and particularly the United States. And the angel dipped into the ocean and poured water across the eastern border of the United States. And that was very dark and metaphoric for the Revolutionary War that was currently going on. And then it dissolved and turned bright. And that was very important because Washington felt very destitute at the time. He could hardly feed and clothe the soldiers. They were depleted of ammunition. And of course, as history reports, they went across the Potomac and won that surprise battle in New York, which was a big turning point for the Revolutionary War. So then the angel brought another vision. And that one was showing the United States more formed now, and apparently dipped into the ocean with water and poured it across the middle of the United States in the South. And again, if I get anything wrong, it's all in this book. You can read it by Manly P. Hall, which is, of course, The Secret History of America. So I'm paraphrasing here, but stick with me. So long story short, it was metaphoric for us winning the Civil War. And what the message seemed to be communicated was that unity was all about the vision for America. So then the final vision was apparently all these nations coming against America. And there was a great war in the middle of the country, and then that dissolved as well. So I guess the vision here, or the importance of this angel communicating this, is that unity and adherence to the public was the vision he was supposed to see. And again, you can read this book. I've heard this story a couple of different ways. This is the one that Manly P. Hall had put together, and I've heard it from other people who've reportedly had heard it from other sources. Of course, if anyone knows what those are, interesting to hear from that in your comments. But I would tell you that that story is really amazing, because what it's really saying is the vision for America is we as Americans and everyone of the world needs to uphold the Republic and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the freedom that the Republic has, and of course, most importantly, the Constitution, against tyranny. And this is something that's so germane right now. I mean, look at going back to Tucker Carlson getting, canceled. Not that he's the be-all end-all here, but it's an indication of just how severe it is. Look at what Elon Musk has discovered and uncovering all the direct involvement of the deep state against various different people, and including a president of the United States, through Twitter. And they're finding it, again, we don't have access to the other social medias, but just that alone uncovers a lot that's going on. So America is under attack. And to round this all up to completion, this is exactly what I've been saying for a long time, that the astrology really shows. And I can tell you that, a lot of people have asked me, Jeff, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? What do you think of, Nibiru? What do you think of all these different things? I've always said, I think 220 forward is the trials and tribulations, and to 225 that we're going to see America either survive or be destroyed. And I can tell you that the Pluto return in the United States, coupled with the Saturn's transit of the moon, I know this is all heady astrology stuff, but it's very important. In Vedic astrology, they call it sadhisate, strange word that just simply means the karmic release of Saturn over the moon. This is when karma comes to roost, good and ill. Plus, I've mentioned we have these extremely powerful primary directions, and that's a fancy term that astrologers throw around to talk about each year of an existence of a person or a country is called a primary direction. And they're extremely indicative of energetic releases. And I can tell you the United States has some exceedingly powerful things going on this fall, all the way into the election year. And I don't think we need astrology to tell us that this country is under attack. So I guess to bring this to closure, I wanted to do this podcast because I think Manly P. Hall's book, and as well as this story, is really a wonderful thing for us all to be aware of. We need to come together and have this vision for keeping the Constitution and the Republic together, because that's what the angel said to George Washington. And I thought that was a really cool story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I love, I'm all about energy and the coming together. We all have to come together and have that energy and have that vision. And
yep, and need to be strong too, because we got some really devious people and very powerful people. Again, I'm really surprised a couple of people are drawing breath. One of them's Tucker Carlson, the other one's Donald Trump, and a few other people. Anybody who goes against the owners, interesting
Watch
situation.
Yeah. Watch out. Well,
George Carlin was right. They own this place.
He had another word in there too, but we'll behave.
Yes, he did. We'll behave. Yeah. We could get canceled right here.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone, so very much. Please leave your comments below, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and take good care of yourself. Stay positive, and we'll see you next Friday.
You bet. Thanks for watching.